Happy Halloween! It doesn't make much sense for me to do Halloween specials on this channel, as basically every video I make is about a monster movie. But alas, gotta please the algorithm god. Today we are talking about a film I have long wanted to cover, but instead of talking about what I want, I force myself to watch mediocre movies that jive better with my regular content. I have conflicting feelings about this channel. Anyway, you will be forgiven to think a movie called Blacula is nothing more than a corny and low-effort blaxploitation. Well, you would be wrong. I mean, yeah, the movie is kinda corny.
That is the rudest nigga I've ever seen in my life.
Fine job for a woman. Running a cab. Ask me, she's looking for something. You know what I mean?
Corny? You calling Dracula corny?
But despite the preposterous name, Blacula delivers an effectively dramatic storyline that makes you feel sympathy towards an admittedly cool-as-hell main villain. The story starts when African chieftain Mamuwalde and his wife, Tula, travel to Transylvania to protest the slave trade with Count Dracula. Things don't go exactly as planned, and Dracula turns Mamuwalde into a vampire, dubbing him Blacula.
I curse you with my name. You shall be Blacula.
Don't lose track now. The African then gets trapped inside a coffin where he sleeps for almost 2 centuries, until being accidentally awakened in a modern world. Despite having been turned into a blood-sucking monster and his beloved wife being long dead, Mamuwalde doesn't seem very bothered, immediately strolling through the streets of Los Angeles with the exaggerated swagger of a black vampire.
Dracula is down with going out on the town, cause Dracula is in the mood to meet some fine ladies.
And meet them he does, as he finds in the woman Tina a carbon copy of his deceased Tula. So the final network of what he's been through is probably on the positive sides of things considered. The rest of the movie divides its focus between the police trying to catch the one behind the series of mysterious killings happening around town, and the African vampire courting Tina and disposing of all who stand on his way. Literally just standing on his way more often than not. It is very entertaining to watch as Mamuwalde makes circles around the authorities. His charisma and screen presence makes him a much more fun character than any of the good guys, so it is very easy to root for him despite his less than virtuous action through the story. Not that he doesn't have an empathetic side, of course. He genuinely shows grievance over the loss of his Tula and, if anything, seems to be honest about his feelings towards Tina. Mamuwalde's human side comes front and center at the climax of the flick when, during the raid of his new lair, the cops accidentally kill Tina, then kill her again as a vampire just for good measure. The main pain is Popo, and his ensuing rampage against the police officers is very fun and cathartic. 1970s stunt work notwithstanding, of course. Later suicide is equally as moving.
Dracula don't need your pity.
Like I mentioned earlier, the last thing you would expect from a movie called Blacula is for it to be a genuinely moving piece of fiction that not only takes itself seriously, but actually succeeds in delivering the right amount of thrills and drama. If anything, you gotta give props to the film for mixing blaxploitation and horror. A bold choice, but at the end of the day, most would agree that these two aesthetics don't jive well together. This often leads to the cornier moments I mentioned earlier. You know, when the movie expects us to be scared, but... Also, everyone behaves like Mamuwalde dressed weirdly, but it is not like anyone else dressed more conservatively. To be honest, I have a feeling this movie only happened because no one would bat an eye to a black man wearing a cape in the 1970s. Despite receiving a very lukewarm reception by critics, Blacula wound up a box office success, so it comes as no surprise that the studio decided to make a follow-up, Scream Blacula Scream. And this video is running a little short anyway, so I might as well talk about the sequel too. Just a second. Alright, I've watched it. Scream Blacula Scream sees wannabe voodoo king Willis resurrecting the titular vampire to kill his enemies. Unfortunately for the man, it is Mamuwalde who starts calling the shots around there once he comes back to life.
Don't nobody tell Dracula what he can or can't do.
Walking the world of the living while creating an army of undead and courting a human woman.
Dracula still got lots of ladies to love.
Yeah, it plays very similarly to the original one. To be fair though, there is an increasing supernatural element this time around. The woman the protagonist goes after, played by Pam Grier, around the same time she appeared on Coffee, is a powerful voodoo sorceress who he believes is capable of ending his curse. Which doesn't make much sense, as like I mentioned before, Mamuwalde never seemed very bothered by his predicament in the first place. This, along with moving the setting from rundown urban LA to a higher class gothic South one, do give the film a different feel than the first, a more standard horror feel. Whether this is good or bad, I guess it's open to the viewer. Also, this installment lacks the romance subplot of the first one, making the main character feel less sympathetic than the first time around. It's still very charismatic and cool, but a tad more uninteresting. Overall, I wanted to like this one more. It lacks the novelty factor of the first, while also removing many of the idiosyncratic elements that made that movie unique. I also feel the new ideas of this film are underutilized. The story is set up in a way you would expect Willis to go for a power grab from Mamuwalde. Instead, we only got a couple scenes of Blacula chewing on him for his arrogance. It's still a fun ride though, with William Marshall once again carrying the whole thing on his back. The success of Blacula and its sequel prompted the making of more horror blaxploitation films, from the very blatant cash-ins like Blackenstein to more original and inspired ones, although none of them left quite the dent on pop culture as the name Blacula did. Not the movie, of course, just the name. Ask Morgan Freeman. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this bizarre look into Dracula in the world of 1972. Amusingly enough, this was not the only 1972 movie featuring Dracula in the present day, but that's a story for another time. On my end, it was a blast to finally have an excuse to use as many clips of Billy and Mandy as possible. Was it all just an excuse to mention Billy and Mandy? Perhaps. Next time is that new Gamera anime. Stay tuned.
Something's cooking. Smells good. Spicy.